Pass Around the Smile is like your go-to friend, the one that lifts you up and backs you till the end. She's there to guide and inspire, challenge and teach, and remind you that your best self isn't out of reach. Self-development, manifestation, self-love and more, it's time to trust the process more than ever before. Welcome to Pass Around the Smile, the podcast. I'm your host, Cleo Massey, and I am so glad you're here. Let the magic begin. Hello and welcome back to the Pass Around the Smile podcast. 2 episodes ago, I put out a question to you guys saying, do you like the name The Smilies for the Pass Around the Smile community? And so many of you have messaged or commented saying, yeah, we love it. And I think it's really cute. So hi Smilies, how are you? Thank you for tuning in for yet another episode. Today is an exciting one, as they all are. Today is all about the art of allowing, which, essentially is surrendering, letting go, just getting out of the way, letting go of that control, and how that helps us attract more, become a magnet to miracles, manifest effortlessly. And I want to talk about expanding time as well. That is something lately that I have been really conscious of, is time going really fast and just wanting it all to slow down. And the other aspect of time, not allowing it to go by from a manifestation point of view, where we are missing the signs and the coincidences that we need as like answers to help us move forward in the right direction for us. So there's many elements to this podcast episode. And the reason I am recording this episode and talking about these themes in particular is because there are 2 episodes on the Pass Around the Smile podcast in the past that have been really, really popular. One being the balance between wanting more and being happy where you are. And the second one being do less, attract more. So I feel like I'm pulling elements from both of those episodes, but I am expanding on it as well. I'll also put the link to those 2 episodes in the show notes because I feel like if you like this episode, you'll really like those episodes as well. And if you've listened to those episodes previously, I highly recommend going back and listening again, because even I, who I plan, I write, I record, and then, I used to edit my podcast. I can go back and listen to episodes and be like, oh, wow, feels like new information, because we are ever changing. We pick up different things on different days and depending on what we're going through. And at the end of the day, we just forget, because we are forgetful humans and because we are so damn busy, which we will get to today. Welcome back. If you're listening, hey. If you're watching, hey, with my hands as well, because as I mentioned in the last couple of podcasts, I'm now on video as well, and you can see the video on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube. So it's very exciting. Before we get into today's episode, I will let you know about our beautiful sponsor of today's episode. She's actually a Pass Around the Smile community member. She is a Smiley, and her name is Erica. She has written and illustrated her very own children's book, and it has so much heart, love, and intention behind it. I was going to talk about my experience with the book, but I'm actually going to read what Erica has to say, just because I felt emotional reading it. But if you are on video, you can see it. It is the cutest book. The illustrations are absolutely beautiful and heartfelt. And it's just one of those books where you can just see and feel all of the time, the energy and the love that went into it. So if you are a parent, a caregiver, a grandparent, an auntie, an uncle, if you have friends that have kids, especially with curly hair, listen up, because this book could be a really sweet gift for you. So Erica says, if you had very curly hair as a child, you might be familiar with the frustration of having no idea how to tame it or what to do with it. My mum didn't know how to style my curls, so I'd go to school with a frizzy, wild, lion-like mop on my head. She would brush it dry, which made it even bigger and frizzier, and she had to chase me around with a brush because I wouldn't let her go near it. I was so self-conscious to go to school with such different hair when all of my peers had smooth, straight hair. I dreamed to have it straight like theirs. Now, as an adult who learned what products to use and how to style her curls as a kindergarten teacher, I now see a repeat of my experience in kids year after year. Reading my children's book, Curly Girl, will not only help little girls with curls to find love and appreciation for their beautiful curls, but it will also be an example for any child with or without curls of finding the confidence to stand up to bullies and love themselves exactly how they are. Isn't that so beautiful? The book is called Curly Girl. It is written and illustrated by Erica Levine. It is available for you to purchase. I'll pop all the links that you need in the show notes, and let's get into this episode. Thank you so much, Erica, for sponsoring. Okay, let's get into it. So by the way, guys, I am a little bit guilty of saying I'll put these links in the show notes and then sometimes I forget. Last 2 episodes ago, I was talking about my retreat and I said I put the links in the show notes and I did not. Anyway, I've put the links to my retreat in the show notes because I know so many of you are interested, but let's move on. I just wanted to let you know that I will always put the links in the show notes now and I will not forget. So I wanted to start talking about the art of allowing, because in February, I was almost forced to do this. As you guys know, if you've listened to my last few episodes, my New Year card spread has really predicted my year so far, and January was an absolute doozy. But February, the card that I pulled was the Rising card, and the Rising card says, you are continuing to rise. Don't quit right before the miracle occurs. And then my March card was miracles. So I'm very excited and I'm getting very intrigued. And I know a few of you have said, let us know what happens. So I thought I'll continue taking you along the process. So February, I knew it wasn't going to be like this immediate shift where all these miracles would come, where I would feel this clear, calm mind all of a sudden. I knew it wouldn't be like that because January was so heightened in so many different ways that I still was kind of dealing with that, processing it, and then kind of coming into this new version of me. But what I had to do in the process was just allow it to happen, was to let go of the resistance and start accepting the things that were happening to me, around me, and the new version of me that I am. I think that's what I found. Like, I was just resisting. I was holding on to what I used to know, how I used to feel. But wherever you are in your life, we are changing constantly. And if we are holding on to resistance, we are not allowing ourselves to evolve or grow or change. And with change, yes, it can feel uncomfortable, but with change comes exciting new opportunities, people, things, experiences, but we have to allow it. If we have our guard up, if we are feeling like all tense and sure of what we need to make us happy, that is when we are going to block so much to unfold for us. Like, that's when we're going to block it all. So the art of allowing, when I say allowing, what I am meaning is surrendering, is letting go, of giving up that control. Not only can it feel so freeing and empowering in the moment, you are also allowing yourself extremely exciting things to come into your reality. I bet you haven't manifested anything good when you are completely forcing things and hustling and grinding from a place of impatience. I really found myself, and we talked about this in another episode, but kind of like placing my value on how much I got done in that day. Like, my productivity levels, I would think I'm only going to feel like happy or relaxed if I get this much done today. And what I was putting on my to-do list was not achievable for a day. And even if it was, I'm setting myself up to fail because I am putting conditions on my happiness. I'm saying I will be happy when, I will be calm when. What about being happy and calm and enjoying the process now? Not only so you are enjoying your life now, but so that the result of what you are manifesting or working towards is actually that of positivity and that of passion and that of excitement. I want you to ask yourself, are you moving forward or are you just moving? What I am trying to differentiate is the difference between being busy and taking meaningful action. Because being busy isn't productive. We think it is though. I feel like society has tricked us into thinking if we are busy, we are successful, we are productive, we are getting things done. But I don't know about you, but I can so often sit down at my desk and I'll write out my to-do list and I spend the whole day doing things like checking my progress on things or like doing little jobs that really aren't productive in the scheme of things, but it kept me busy for the whole day. And I can go home and Luke's like, how was your day? What did you get done? And I was like, well, I was working the whole day. Like I was doing things for the whole day. I was busy, but I cannot tell you what I got done. And very often that is because we are avoiding doing the harder tasks because they are going to make us feel nervous or uncomfortable. They are going to take a lot of creative energy, and let's face it, that takes effort. Or we are scared of disappointment or failing ourselves if we don't do a good enough job. So today, for example, it's like, what's the time? It's like 2:00 in the afternoon. I was meant to do this podcast at about 9:00, but I fiddled around on my computer. I was like checking my views on the podcast. I was checking my analytics on social media. I was doing some emails that really could have waited until next week because I was putting the effort into organizing what this podcast was going to be about, setting up the microphone, the camera, all of the things that take a lot of effort. But I said to myself, oh my God, Cleo, first of all, practice what you preach. You're literally going to talk about this, but also ask yourself, what could you do today or tomorrow that is going to make you feel so accomplished and proud of yourself at the end of the day? Allow yourself that. So the art of allowing goes in the way of talking about surrendering, letting go of control, just being. But I want to also talk about the word allowing, and it is allowing yourself to succeed, allowing yourself to feel proud of yourself, allowing yourself to feel good. Of course, though, checking in to how you are feeling. Is it feeling forced and yucky and uncomfortable? Or is it just feeling like, look, it's going to be hard work, but it's passion-backed? Because there is a difference between just being busy and forcing things versus taking aligned, meaningful action. For me, I get so excited to do my podcast. I love doing my podcast. Yes, it's hard. I will admit. The podcast for me is probably one of the hardest parts of what I do in Pass Around the Smile because it takes so much energy and effort and time. But I am able to differentiate those two things and think, no, it's not my gut saying no. It's not like fear. Essentially it is sometimes fear holding me back, but it's not my gut saying this is not right. So then we kind of talked about the difference between fear and intuition in another episode. So I won't go too far into that. And if you missed it, it's just 2 back. But really checking in to see how you are feeling. Because when we hold on to that control, when we are busy for the whole day, when we are filling every spot with overcommitting to plans, whether it's social plans or overcommitting to things at work, we have a spare moment, we're scrolling on social media, we're replying to those emails that we don't necessarily need to. We are filling every spare moment. We aren't allowing things to come through. Things will not come through when you are so busy and preoccupied. And when we are busy, we are in that fight or fight mode. Like our body is like, okay, where to next? Can you relate in where the moments we stop, right? The moments we finally stop and breathe. It's kind of uncomfortable to be still. And I think that is what society has kind of instilled in us as well, and social media, where people are talking about grinding and hustling and you have to go to achieve your goals. It's really uncomfortable the minute we stop because we think that we are lazy, or we think we are wasting time, or we think we're going to miss out. But the world is not going to stop. Your dreams are not going to be blocked. You are not lazy for taking a minute to breathe. We have to allow space for creativity to come through, for inspiration to come through, to listen into our intuition, to quiet the outside noise. And in February, I knew I had to do this because of the cards I pulled. To rise, to get in touch with myself, my higher powers, my higher self, I had to take mindful moments each day to just be. Honestly, so uncomfortable. I wanted to reach for my phone and write in my notes all the ideas that were coming to me. I wanted to jump in the car and go to the shops because I had a spare half an hour, so I may as well get the groceries done. I wanted to clean Indigo's room because it was messy. Trust me, I wanted to do all of the things, but instead I went to the beach, or I took a day off work, even though my to-do list was so long. And I just sat and I allowed things to come to me. And everything that felt blocked in January, confused or yucky, all of a sudden felt free and clear and exciting. And the momentum that I gained from having that time and allowing my mind some free space far outweighed what I would have got done if I actually forced myself to be productive in those moments. Because forcing myself to be productive in those moments was not what I needed to do. I'm going to move on because, again, I know we touched on this 2 episodes ago, but I think it's a really important topic. So ask yourself, are you moving forward or are you just moving? Are you doing things that are actually creating meaningful change in your life and are feeling good? Or are you just filling in space with little things because you don't want to feel uncomfortable or you don't want to step out of your comfort zone? Let's talk about expanding time. I hear so many people, and I'm included in this, saying, I don't have enough time. It's the first thing that I jump to whenever I'm feeling pressure. I don't have enough time. My chest goes tight, my headache starts. I do not have enough time. I'm telling myself over and over and over again. If we are telling ourselves that we do not have enough time, then what are we going to not have enough of? Time. Because what we believe is our reality. I do not have enough time is a limiting belief. You might be a mum of 3 right now, listening to me, you're full-time working as well, going, Cleo, no, you're wrong. I do not have enough time. But my friend, my smiley, you are listening to this episode. You have time to listen to this episode. You have created time for yourself in this moment to listen to this episode, so you do have time. Time, the time that surrounds you is just, it's a reflection of your perception. Our perception creates our reality. Our perception of things has the chance to change our reality. So I have started looking at time differently. I have more than enough time. Sometimes I have days where that is really hard to believe, but what I like to do is at the end of the day think, does it really matter? Like, is my whole life going to collapse if I don't get this done on time, or if I do this next week instead of today? No. And what that did is it freed up so much more space in my physical life, but also, and more importantly, in my mind. I decluttered my mind because I have started to prioritize what actually matters and change my perception of time. I create my to-do lists. You create your to-do lists. Sure, there might be pressure from outside sources like family or friends or work or society telling you that you should have these things done on a certain date or by a certain time. But at the end of the day, you then get to prioritize where your time, your energy, and your importance goes. Yes, life can happen. And you might have an actual deadline that is so important for you to meet at work, for example. So when you have something really important like that, taking that important thing and looking at all of the other things on your to-do list that aren't actually that important and prioritizing that one thing, because you know that when you complete that one thing, you will feel so accomplished, fulfilled, proud of yourself, and almost the reward will be then to go back to your to-do list and complete the little things that you can tick off more easily, like cleaning the house, those few emails, checking your progress, whatever it is, that kind of can just get done and ticked off really quickly. You get to prioritize how you want this to go. No one is dictating this for you. I feel so much more calm when I think of time as endless. Time is endless. We have more than enough time if you believe that you have more than enough time. Let's look at this from a manifestation standpoint. When you are creating spaciousness, when you are allowing more time for yourself, you are literally creating, think of all the physical space from an energetic standpoint, right? Imagine that you are standing there and then you are surrounded by this field, and that field is what is surrounding you every day. It's your life, right? If you are creating time and space physically and mentally, think of all the room that the universe has to drop down these ideas, creative little thoughts, opportunities, new people, expansive ideas. there is so much room for growth. When we are so tied to a schedule and when we believe we have no time in the day for movement, for spontaneity, for anything like that, what do you think you're doing? You are blocking the process. You are not allowing the universe to co-create with you. Are you open? Do you trust that the universe has ideas for you? Do you trust the universe has your back? Well, you have to be open and let the universe know that you actually do trust the universe to have a say in your life. So when I started creating space for myself in February and allowing myself some more time, even though it was uncomfortable to not just fill that time with things that I really truly believed in the moment that I needed to do, I started experiencing some really cool and magical things. I found myself getting back to the spiritual side of Cleo, and that really excited me. So one day I was feeding Indy and her room was completely still. It was completely quiet. The fan wasn't on. Yes, the aircon was on, but that doesn't really create like movement in the room. And we had been in there for like 20 minutes, right? And then guilty's probably too big of a word, but in January, because my mind was so busy and because I wasn't the most positive version of myself while I was feeding her, I would use it as time to kind of go over everything in my mind and think about all the things that I had to do. Instead of just being present with her and looking down at her beautiful little angel face feeding on me and just being in her room and looking around and taking that moment of calm. I have done that the whole time she has been born, and it has been such beautiful moments for me where I have shown myself that I could actually slow down time, because that time would go for so long because I was so present. I was giving so much meaning to that moment, and I feel like in the future I will look back and be so proud of myself because I will remember so much of feeding her because I am looking at her, I'm feeling it, I'm really in the moment. And I know I'm going off a little bit off track here, but I also did this with our wedding, and I actually have an episode where I talk about manifesting my dream wedding, so you can go back and listen to that if you like. But I had all these people in the lead up to our wedding say to me, oh, it's just going to go so fast, like it's the best day of your life and it just goes, it's over in a blink, like blah, blah, blah. So my goal leading into our wedding was to be so incredibly present on the day and the night so that it went for ages. So during our wedding day and night, I would constantly be stopping myself, taking a breath, smelling the smells, looking at what I can see, feeling what I was feeling, and taking it all in. And I can tell you, our wedding day and night went for forever. Like it went for so long because I kept being like, oh my God, look around, take it in. We can create more time in our lives. We can slow down time. So yes, in January, those beautiful moments where I was feeding Indy, I wasn't doing what I was used to doing in those moments. Instead, I was like letting time tick over and I wasn't being present. So now in February, I've got back to doing what I love to do in those moments. And it's like the universe was rewarding me for finally noticing and acting on that idea of, oh my gosh, like I have actually let this part of our feeding go because I'm so preoccupied with other things. I was sitting there, I was feeding her, and we have this little carousel, and it goes around in circles when you like wind it back really hard, and it plays a really beautiful chiming song, and the little horses move around the carousel. Nothing was touched, nothing was moving. I'd been in the room for 20 minutes and it just started playing. Only for about 4 seconds, but it started playing. And that little carousel sits next to the 3 little ornaments, statues, I'm not sure what to call them, that I talked about in another episode, which the psychic Kylie told me was a sign from my feminine spiritual powers. So those 3 represent my nanny Waters, my grandma Valerie, and Luke's nan Cheryl. It sits right next to those 3 women who look over us constantly. And it literally started playing out of nowhere. In that moment, I was like, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to create more space. I need to create more time. I then went downstairs, and that morning someone had talked to me about a blue butterfly. And then I'd seen a blue butterfly, someone post it being like, I saw this blue butterfly today. It means so much to me. But that person was overseas. And I was like, oh, I feel like we don't really see blue butterflies here in Australia much, or where I live or whatever. It'd be really cool if I could see one, but whatever. I was creating space. I was walking around the garden instead of doing the laundry, and I was literally just walking around my garden. I was just looking at everything, but I wasn't looking for a sign. I was just being. What came out? A huge blue butterfly. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, this is what creating space does. And this is what expanding time does, because the time was going slower. And that felt so good, because I don't want this precious time to go on so quickly. I want time to slow down. So a few little lessons in there, I hope that can excite you and feel like refreshing for you, because life doesn't have to go so fast. We get to enjoy these moments and they get to be slow. Okay, so back to manifestation. We all know that controlling things blocks manifestation completely. Controlling the outcome, controlling the process, that blocks manifestation, because when you are in a controlling mood or you're dictating something or someone else, your energy is vibrating low. And that means that you're going to attract other things, other energies vibrating on that same low level. If you listened to my podcast last week with Shanae, oh my gosh, such a good episode. You will now have a great understanding, scientifically as well, how our words and our feelings and our emotions affect the water, therefore the energy inside of our bodies. So when we are holding on to that control, what it does, it actually repels what we want, because it's coming from fear and lack. When we are controlling something, we are fearful, and we are feeling like we have a lack of something, so I need to control this situation, or I need to control this person to get what I want. However, manifestation, like true manifestation, comes from trust and openness. We have to trust and we have to be open. How can we be open if we are stuck in the rat race of not having enough time? We can't. So when we are creating more space and creating more time, we are becoming more open. Think again of the space that surrounds us physically. We are allowing space for the universe to drop in, to co-create with us. It's so exciting. Instead of forcing things to happen, what if you created space and just allowed them to drop in when they are ready? This is another thing when we're talking about expanding time. Manifestation doesn't really work with time. That's why we talk about divine timing. It works in divine timing, and what divine timing means is that something or someone or an opportunity or whatever it is that is on its way to you will come in its divine time. Again, divine time means the right time for you. Yes, that can be frustrating because you might be like, I want it now. But if you use manifestation, you can attract it now, because what you believe you have, you will attract into your reality. There's that quote that I love, and I'll butcher it now, but it's something like, everything that we have imagined is already created. Everything that we have thought, everything that we could see, it's already been created because you imagined it. It is there. It is in the scope. It is in the world. It's in the universe. It's now just a matter of attracting it into your reality. How do you attract it into your reality? By giving up control, by allowing, by surrendering, by letting go, creating space, creating time. Don't take this life of yours for a ride. Don't grab on to the next thing just because it's bigger and better and faster and you're gaining momentum. So we're grinding, we're hustling, let's go, 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 go. That's not what life is about. Life is about appreciating, about experiencing and allowing what is meant for us to come for us. We will manifest, sure, because we're always manifesting. We're always using the law of attraction. However, we will manifest and we will use the law of attraction to attract things that aren't quite right for us if we are working through that forced energy and being productive just because we do tie our worth and our value to how productive we were that day or to how much we got done. So I read something, I wish I could say I made this up, but I didn't. I read this and it resonated so much. So this is all about resting before you actually need it, something I am guilty of not doing. This is what I read. It said, resting isn't a reward for hard work. It is a prerequisite for alignment. What you are doing by resting before you hit rock bottom, before you are so damn tired, before you get the headache, before you actually complete your to-do list, is you are allowing yourself to enjoy the process. You are allowing the universe to co-create. You are allowing your angels, your loved ones in heaven, whoever you believe in, to drop in little messages, signs, and synchronicities on the way that will help your path become easier and flow better. You are also just allowing yourself to steer clear of the stress, of the headaches, of the anxiety, of the uncomfortable feelings in your tummy. And you are allowing yourself to move forward from a place of trust and faith rather than lack and fear. That's a lot. Hey, that is a lot of good things that you are allowing yourself just by resting, just by stopping, resting, reassessing, being, allowing. It sounds simple, but it's not. Again, because we are so programmed to just go, go, go. But you are allowing yourself all of that incredible stuff by actually resting, but here's the catch, before you need it. Don't wait until you really, really need it, because then you do hit rock bottom. Then the rest does need to go for double as long, or you do get sick, or you do completely burn out, or you do lash out at the ones you love, or you do a crappy job of the presentation, or whatever it is. You get where I'm going. How often do we burn ourselves out before giving ourselves permission to just slow down? Taking breaks before exhaustion actually allows us so much more than we could ever imagine. So I hope that inspires you to do it. So I want to end this episode on asking you a few questions. If you're near your journal, grab your pen and write them down. If you're on your phone, maybe take some notes, or just come back to this whenever you need to, or just kind of answer the questions in your head now. So a few questions that will kind of like go back and touch on all different points of this episode. One of them is, am I taking action from a place of trust or from a place of fear of not having enough? That's one question. The next question I want you to ask yourself is, who am I without the next goal? Who am I without the next goal? Now, with this question, I actually want to give you an example of an answer, and you can take my answer and you can write it down as a mantra for yourself, and you can state it over and over and over if that helps you. That answer is, my value isn't tied to what I achieve next, but to how I show up now. I am already whole, worthy, and complete. This is like a question, but there's also a lesson within the question, if that makes sense, because this is what I want you to ask instead of asking something. Oh my gosh, does that make sense? Anyway, I'll just read it. So instead of asking, what do I need to do to get to the next step or the next level, or, my dream, right? So what do I need to do next, essentially? And then you can finish it off yourself. What you can ask for instead, encompassing what we've talked about in this episode, is, what do I need to release to allow the next level to come to me easily? This episode is all about allowing. It's about expanding time. It's about manifesting effortlessly, doing less and attracting more. We do not have to hustle. Just because someone says it's hard doesn't mean it has to be hard for you. We get to do less and attract more, and I don't think a saying has ever excited me more, because that's what I want. I actually don't strive to be that busy go-getter mum business owner who's going from here to there, success next level, she's up, go, achieving this, achieving that. I don't strive for that. I don't want that. Yes, I want to feel successful in what I do from fulfillment, but I want to create a life that is of ease and flow, yes, of excitement and great opportunities, but I want to be relaxed and I want to be calm. So creating like the space and the time actually allows me to get to that still. We don't have to force it. And we know that forcing it is actually going to kind of stall it now anyway. So you want to ask, what do I need to release to allow the next level to come easily to me? What do you need to release? There will be things in your mind right now, in your physical reality, that you need to release that will then allow everything to come easily to you. The last question is, where can you do less and receive more? Just let that kind of sit with you for a little bit. Where can you do less and receive more? Remembering that this might be a perception thing. You might perceive that you need to do more to attract more, but that is a limiting belief in itself. Remember that the next level doesn't always require more effort. It actually just requires less resistance. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Pass Around the Smile podcast. I love you all so much. Please like, follow, subscribe, comment, review, do all the things because it really helps me to keep creating podcast episodes for you guys. And a big thank you again to Erica for sponsoring this episode with her beautiful book, Curly Girl. You guys are amazing. I will talk to you in the Facebook community. Links are in the show notes. Mwah.